Hey friends, it's Robin. Welcome back to my channel. So today we are doing my next installment of my seasonal TBRs. Summer starts this week, possibly today. I don't remember a date I'm posting this video, but I am here to do my summer TBR. If you have not seen one of my seasonal TBRs, I will link my seasonal playlist up in the cards as well as in the description box. I think I have these for winter and spring so far, so you can check out that entire playlist with all of the previous seasons. And I will also link my summer recommendations, which is the last video that I posted. If you are looking to build your own summer TBR, I have 10 books on that list that I think are perfect for the season. But today I am doing my summer TBR. I am talking about 10 books that I want to read this summer. These are not necessarily summery books. These are just books that I personally want to read in the next 3 months. I really like doing these videos. I have no idea why, considering I do TBRs every single month, but I love a good TBR, and I am a TBR reader, so I like to have TBRs for everything. So these are 10 books that I want to read this season. Most of them are upcoming releases, but I do have a couple of backlist releases on here for series slash authors that I am trying to binge and complete. So let's get right into the TBR. So the first book on the list is Lunatic by Onley James. This is book 6 in the Necessary Evil series, and if you've been here for any length of time, you know that I am utterly obsessed with Onley James. I have read almost her entire backlist at this point. I am finishing up her backlist, and then I'm going to do an entire dedicated Onley James video. But this is book 6 in the Necessary Evil series, and this is going to be Archer's story. And Archer is one of the Mulvaney siblings, and everyone thinks that Archer is a gambling addict as well as an alcoholic. And from the little hints that have been dropped, it is all a facade. He is always secretly on missions for their father, Thomas, and it is his romance. I do not know, I know the other hero's name is Mac, but I do not know anything else. I don't know any of the tropes, nothing like that. This is an romance. It is a serial killer romance. It is a psychopath romance, and I am just obsessed with this series. I am part of Onley James's Patreon, and she has been releasing chapters of this, but I have been trying to withhold from reading them because I know that I need the whole thing all at once. So this is one that I will definitely be reading. These are self-pubbed, so it has a tentative release date of, I think, July, but with self-pubbed books, that always moves around a little bit. So I don't know the exact date that this one will come out, but the moment that it drops on my Kindle, I will be picking this one up. And next is a book that I haven't heard anybody talk about yet, but I am so insanely excited for it, and that is A Strange and Stubborn Endurance by Meadows. And this is an fantasy, and in this we are following a nobleman who is promised to a rival kingdom's daughter, but it ends up coming out that he is gay, and instead of their tentative alliance being broken, they offer his hand in marriage to the rival kingdom's son instead. And it is an romance between the two of them trying to bring their kingdoms together, and I am so excited for this book. I love a good fantasy romance, and I'm very excited for the a marriage of convenience trope in a fantasy but make it gay. I'm here for it. Like I said, I've heard nothing else about this book. It just popped up on Edelweiss one day, and when I read the synopsis, I was like, well, I need that. Next is Love on the Brain by Hazelwood, and this is another one of my most anticipated books of the entire year, and I actually don't know anything about this book. I think it takes place in the same universe as The Love Hypothesis, but I don't know that for sure. I know nothing about this book other than the fact that the cover is adorable and that it follows a female scientist. All you had to tell me was that it was Hazelwood, and I immediately added it to my TBR. Next is Wild as the Witch by Rachel Griffin. This is the same author as The Nature of Witches, and I loved The Nature of Witches. This is another YA witchy fantasy. And in this one, I think our heroine is a witch and she curses the hero of this book. I don't remember if it was intentional or not, but they end up coming together because she loses the owl that kind of is like, I don't remember if it's like the manifestation of the curse, but they need to catch this owl in order to save the boy's life. And the two of them have to come together and try to save the owl. I just really loved Rachel Griffin's writing in that first book. It was beautiful and I really liked her themes and her characters. She had casual queer rep in that first book. I don't know if there's going to be some in this book. I love a good contemporary fantasy, and so I definitely had to add this author's sophomore novel onto my summer TBR. Another couple of sequels. First is Husband Material by Alexis Hall. This is the sequel to Boyfriend Material, and again, I haven't read the synopsis for this. If I remember correctly, our two heroes are attending a whole bunch of weddings, and that's all I know. Boyfriend Material was one of my favorite books the year that it released, and I am so excited to get back to these characters. These are two of my favorite messy characters ever, and I know that there's going to be a third book. I would read an infinite number of books following these two characters. I don't care what it's about. I don't care if there's a plot. I don't care if it's them eating breakfast in the morning. I want all of the books with these two characters, and I'm so excited that Alexis Hall is gracing us with another book in this world. Two more sequels, and these are kind of like dual ones. So I really want to read a Curse of Blood and Stone by K.A. Tucker, which is the sequel to Fate of Wrath and Flame, but I want to reread A Fate of Wrath and Flame and then go directly into A Curse of Blood and Stone, just because this is a pretty epic high fantasy romance story, and they are chunky, so I don't want to have forgotten any details before I go into the sequel. So I'm thinking that this is going to be a duel of rereading book one and then going into book two, but this is a fantasy romance series and we are following our heroine who lives in the real world. Right at the beginning of the book, she meets somebody in like a bar at a party, and she is swept away into a magical realm, and when she wakes up in the magical realm, she's in the body of a princess and has no memory of anything that has happened, but the princess's body that she's inhabiting just tried to kill the prince and killed his entire family. She has to prove to this prince that she has no memory of anything that happened, and it is their romance. There is a lot of politics in here. There is really fun magic. I loved the world building in here. I read this for like a book club over on Brie's channel from In Love and Words. I'll link Brie down below, and nobody else loved this, but I adored this romance. I ended up giving this one 5 stars. I'm ridiculously excited for the sequel, and so this is going to be a dual read for this. So the next one that is kind of like a double one is these Hello Vows and these Twisted Bonds. Again, I'm going to reread these Hello Vows because it's been like at least a year since I've read this. Yeah, this came out in 2021. So I read this one last year, and this is the conclusion to the duology. This is the most cliche YA fae fantasy, but it knows that it hits all of the beats and knows it hits all the tropes, and it steers into it, and I think that's why I loved it so much. It's so addictive and so readable, and like you know exactly where it's going and what it's doing, and it's a really good time. This is kind of Cinderella-esque because we are following our heroine who wants nothing to do with magic, and her sister is accidentally sold to a fae, and she ends up having to go into the fae realm and attend a ball to try and rescue her sister. And when she is there, she ends up discovering that her best friend from the real world is actually a fae, and there's a love triangle between the two princes of the battling courts, and it's a good time. Like I said, it has all of the classic tropes. There's a love triangle, there is the like bad boy, there's like the best friend with a secret identity, there's the two sisters trying to save each other. It's just, it hits all of the beats that you know, but it is so readable and so fun. And I don't remember everything that happened in this first book, so I know that I want to reread this before going into book 2. After that is one that I'm really excited about, and that is Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson. This just has a really fun premise, and I absolutely love this cover. This cover is so cute, but we are following our heroine. She is writing her dissertation on some cold cases, and she's obsessed with true crime, and she goes down to, I think, Florida to help her younger brother clear out their father's house after he has passed away. And she is kind of struggling down there because she didn't have an actual relationship with her father. She barely knew him, but now they are kind of going through all of his belongings and cleaning out his house. And she becomes convinced that his neighbor is a serial killer. And it is her trying to figure out why he is being kind of shady and whether or not he is a serial killer. And it is their romance, and this sounds like such a fun kind of twist on a romance. I think it's going to be a really good time. The next one I am putting on this list because it is a Literally Dead book club pick, and that is House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This is the, oh god, what, the 5th Riley Sager? This is Riley Sager's 6th book, and this one is a very like classic mystery thriller plot. We are following our heroine, who I think she's like an ex-Hollywood star, and she moves to this small lake town. She has a house on the lake, and she loves to just people watch all day, and she becomes obsessed with this couple across the lake. And when the wife suddenly disappears, she is trying to solve the disappearance of the wife. Like I said, it's a very classic thriller plot, but I'm hoping that Riley Sager does something fun with it. We shall see, but this is a Literally Dead book club pick, so I wanted to throw one of these on there. And then lastly is actually another dual one. I didn't realize how many like dual books I put on here, but that is the final 2 books in the Deliver Us bind up by Pam Godwin, and I think they are, yeah, Vanquish and Disclaim. So I've already read book 1, which is I think the longest one. So this was book 1, and this is books 2 and 3, and I am just kind of falling down a Pam Godwin rabbit hole, and I really want to read this series. I'd like to binge it, but the series is long, so I need to prioritize reading it. So putting it on the TBR, I think, will help me prioritize this so it doesn't just keep getting pushed back. But this is a really, really dark romance. The first book follows our heroine, who is in this kind of like captive situation, and she is now required to kidnap people and train them to become sex slaves. And right at the beginning of the first book, she kidnaps like a small town football hero, and when she takes them back to the house to where they like train everyone to become sex slaves, she realizes that he is not trainable, not breakable, and the two of them have a captor-captive romance. And you start learning about the underground history about this entire organization. And I believe one of these follows like her accomplice, like the guy that kidnapped her, and I have no idea who the third one follows. But I've heard such good things about this series. This series is connected to the Tinkled Vows trilogy, which I adored, and we get one of the heroes, the hero that doesn't get the happily ever after in that series, gets it at the end of this series. And so I really want to binge this. Eventually I would like to do a Pam Godwin video, but I have a long way to go. So I'm going to read the last 2 books in this bind up, and that is going to be it for my summer TBR, which I say that's it, but despite this only being 10 books, 3 of these had dual books in it. So it's more like 13 books. But we have a long time. I will be doing a summer wrap up at the end of the season, so that will be coming in September, where I will go over everything that's on this list, whether or not I read it, what I rated it, give you my review, everything like that. Like I said, if you would like to check out the previous seasons, will have that playlist linked in all of the places, and I will catch y'all in my next video. Bye!